Archie was born in the dark, left under the rain, and given no name. But what this little girl did will make you cry until the very end. This is the story of pain, love, sacrifice, and a girl the world tried to forget. Please like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Drop your comment below about this story. This story happened long ago in a quiet African village. It is a story people whisper at night with tears in their eyes. It's not just about a girl, it's about the hurt that silence brings and how the smallest heart can carry the biggest pain. Left in the rain, the storm was loud, the sky cried with thunder, and the trees danced wildly in the wind. But beneath the big tree at the edge of the village, a baby cried louder. She was wrapped in a torn cloth, no name written on her, no mother, no father, just a soft cry in the cold rain. The villagers were afraid to go close. She is a curse, some said. No good mother would leave her child like this. They all walked past, but one woman stopped. She was old, thin, and wore clothes with holes. Her name was Mama Simi. She bent down, picked the baby up, and covered her with her own wrapper. "You are not a curse," Mama Simi whispered. "You are a gift." She took the child home. She had no food, barely any water, but she gave the baby everything. The baby smiled when she drank warm water from a tin cup. Mama Simi had no money, but that smile was enough. That night, she held the baby close. "I don't know your name," she whispered, "but maybe one day you'll name yourself." And just like that, under a leaking roof, the girl with no name found her first piece of love. Years passed. The baby became a small girl. She had big eyes and soft brown skin. Her hair was always full of dust, but her heart was clean. She ran through the village barefoot, laughing with the chickens and picking wild mangoes, but the other children didn't play with her. They called her nothing. "You don't have a name," they laughed. "You are not one of us." The girl didn't cry. She went home and asked Mama Simi, "Why don't I have a name?" Mama Simi looked sad. "Because the world didn't give you one," she said. "But that doesn't mean you are nothing." At night, the girl would sit and name the stars. That one is hope. That one is kindness. But still, she had no name of her own. When she helped Mama Simi cook or sweep, her heart felt warm. But outside, people whispered, "That's the cursed girl. She came from nowhere." One day, she saw a boy crying because he dropped his bread. She gave him hers. The boy ran off without saying thank you. But the girl smiled, because even if they didn't love her, she could still love them. That night, she looked at Mama Simi and said, "Even if I have no name, can I still be someone good?" Mama Simi held her close. "My child, even without a name, your heart is the brightest thing I know." As the girl grew older, the whispers grew louder. People no longer just ignored her, they feared her. "She brings bad luck," they said. "Ever since Mama Simi took her in, nothing has gone right." The rains had stopped. Crops were dying. Animals were thin. The sun burned too hot. They pointed fingers. "She's the reason. The nameless girl is cursed." The girl heard them. She heard every word, but she never answered back. She only worked harder fetching water for the old, carrying firewood for mothers, and helping the sick even when they looked at her with fear. Mama Simi noticed her quiet pain. One night, she made a small necklace out of dry grass and placed it around the girl's neck. "This is not much," she said, "but let it remind you you are loved." The girl touched the necklace. It was rough, but it felt like gold. She slept with it every night, her hand over her chest, holding on to the only gift anyone had given her. But the village didn't stop. At the market, mothers pulled their children away. "Stay far from her," they warned. "The curse can jump." The girl went home early that day, sat beside the fire and asked, "Mama, if I disappear, will they be happy again?" Mama Simi's eyes filled with tears. "If they lose the sun, will they only then miss its light?" There was one person who didn't run from her. His name was Tunde. He was the healer's son. He was tall, with kind eyes and hands that always smelled of herbs. One day, the girl helped a goat give birth. Her hands were fast, her mind calm. Tunde saw it all. "You did better than most adults," he said. She looked down. "Thank you," he smiled. "What's your name?" The girl paused. "I don't have one." Tunde looked surprised. "No name? That can't be. You're too full of life to be nameless." She shook her head. "They say I'm a curse." Tunde sat beside her. "My father says names are not what make people, it's their heart." From that day, he talked to her, often asking about her dreams, showing her how to mix herbs and teaching her how to feel the wind to know if rain was near. He once said, "If I could name you, I'd call you Amina. It means peace. That's what you bring." She smiled at that name, but it wasn't her snot yet. When others saw them together, they frowned. "Tunde, leave that girl," they warned. "Don't mix with bad blood." But Tunde only said, "Her blood is cleaner than most of yours." And for the first time, the girl with no name felt seen not as a curse, but as someone worth knowing. One morning, Mama Simi didn't wake up early like she always did. The girl shook her gently. "Mama, the sun is up." Mama Simi opened her eyes slowly. Her skin looked pale, her hands cold. "I'm just tired, my child," she whispered. "Maybe just for today. You fetch the water." The girl nodded and ran to the stream. But deep inside, her heart felt heavy. The days passed. Mama Simi got weaker. Her cough was dry and her food remained untouched. The girl brought leaves, boiled roots, and did everything she had learned from Tunde. But Mama Simi's strength was fading. She went to the village healer begging for help, but he turned his face away. "We don't touch the cursed," he said coldly. "But it's Mama Simi," she cried. "She's not cursed." He shook his head. "She chose you. Let her carry the price." She returned home with empty hands. That night, she laid beside Mama Simi, holding her tightly. "If I could take your pain," the girl whispered, "I would carry it all." Mama Simi smiled weakly. "You already carry more than most. But promise me, live. Even when the world tries to bury you, rise like the sun." That was the last thing Mama Simi ever said. By morning, she was still, and the girl with no name was alone again. When Mama Simi died, the village didn't come to bury her. They left her body in the hut. "Let the cursed girl handle it," they said. So the girl dug the ground with her bare hands. Her nails bled, but she kept digging. Tunde came quietly. He brought a cloth and helped her wrap Mama Simi gently. They buried her beneath the mango tree where flowers never grew, but now maybe one would. The girl sat there for hours. The sun went down. Her eyes stayed wide open, empty of tears. That night, the chief's wife came with a broom and a hard heart. "This hut is not yours," she said. "Mama Simi is gone. You must leave." "But where will I go?" the girl asked. "Anywhere but here. Go to the forest. Go to the wind. You don't belong here." With a small cloth bag, one broken cup, and Mama Simi's grass necklace, she walked into the night. Tunde tried to stop her. "Stay with us. I'll talk to my father." But she shook her head. "They'll only hate you for it." He reached into his pocket and gave her a small wooden ring. "For luck," he said. And then she walked away. No shoes, no roof, no family, just a nameless girl, carrying the weight of the world. The forest was dark, even during the day. The girl walked through tall grass, sharp branches, and unknown sounds. Her feet bled, but she didn't stop. She found a small space under a fallen tree and made it her new home. It had no walls, no fire, but it was hers. At night, the cold wrapped around her like a cruel blanket. Her stomach made loud noises. She chewed on bitter roots and sipped rainwater from leaves. But the silence hurt more than hunger. There were no voices calling her Namino because she was lost, but because she never had one. Still, she whispered to herself, "I am not a curse. I am not a curse." She said it over and over until her voice cracked. Birds came near her in the mornings. She fed them crumbs from old bread. "At least you're not afraid of me," she smiled. One day, she heard a rustle. A hunter appeared. He raised his spear. "Who are you?" he asked. The girl stood slowly. "No one," she said. He stared at her, confused. "You're just a child." She nodded. "But they don't see me that way." He dropped his spear. "The village is cruel." The hunter gave her a yam and walked away. No questions, no judgment. That night, she roasted the yam on small stones and cried for the first time in days, not because she was hungry, but because someone had seen her and helped. Back in the village, things grew worse. The sun stayed too long in the sky. The river dried up. Crops turned to dust. People began to fall sick one by one. The healer's herbs stopped working. Children cried from hunger. Mothers wept with empty hands. The chief called a meeting. "The gods are angry," he said. "We must find the reason." One elder stood. "It began when we let that nameless girl live here." Gasps filled the air. The villagers nodded. "She cursed us," they said. "Her spirit still haunts this land." Tunde stood up. "She was a child. She helped us. We threw her away. Maybe we are the curse." But no one listened. The chief shouted, "Find her! If she is still alive, bring her back. We'll offer her to the gods." Tunde's heart stopped. "You want to sacrifice her?" "She is the reason for our pain," the chief said. Tunde ran from the crowd. His eyes burned with fear. Far in the forest, the girl sat under her tree, staring at the wooden ring. She didn't know the village now wanted her not just gone, but dead. And her quiet world was about to shatter again. Tunde didn't sleep that night. He packed some herbs, food, and water in a small sack. He had to find her first before the others did. The villagers moved like hunters. Men with spears. Women with angry chants. Children watching, learning hate. They say she lives near the old forest, someone said. They searched with fire, feet, and fury, but Tunde moved alone faster, quieter. Deep in the woods, he found her sleeping. Her arms were around her knees, like she was trying to hide inside herself. He touched her shoulder. She woke up, eyes wide with fear, then softened when she saw him. "Tunde," she whispered. "They're coming for you," he said, breathless. "They want to offer you to the gods." She blinked. "But I did nothing." "They don't care. They need someone to blame." She looked around her tiny shelter. "Where can I run?" "With me," he said. "We'll cross the hills. There's a village beyond the river. They don't know you there." The girl stood. "Will you still talk to me when they say I'm a curse?" Tunde nodded. "I'll call you by the name I gave you, Amina." She closed her eyes. The name felt like a blanket warm, soft, real. They left before dawn. Behind them, the forest stayed quiet. But the wind whispered, like it was warning the trees that something precious was leaving. Amina and Tunde walked for hours, then days. The sun was hot. Their feet blistered. They shared water, tore mangoes with their teeth, and slept under the stars. Tunde told her stories to make her smile. She told him how she named the stars long ago. That one, she pointed, was called Hope. At night, Tunde noticed she still clutched Mama Simi's grass necklace. Even after everything, she held on to love. One evening, they came to a river deep, wide and rough. "We have to cross," Tunde said. "The new village is on the other side." Amina looked at the water. "It's fast." He nodded. "But we'll go together." They tied their bags. Amina wrapped the necklace around her wrist so it wouldn't float away. They stepped in slowly. The current was strong. Amina slipped once, but Tunde grabbed her hand. Together, they pushed through step by step, breath by breath, until their feet touched dry land again. They fell on the grass, coughing, laughing, crying. "We made it," Tunde said. Amina looked up. "Do you think people will still see me as a curse?" Tunde shook his head. "No, not where we're going." But they didn't know the sickness from their old village was spreading, and soon the new village would need more than just healing. They would need someone brave, someone selfless, someone like Amina. The village across the river was smaller but full of life. Children played in the dust. Smoke rose gently from cooking pots. Laughter floated in the air. Amina and Tunde arrived with tired legs and hopeful eyes. An old woman at the edge of the village saw them first. "Where are you from?" she asked. Tunde answered quickly. "From the far side. We're looking for shelter." The woman looked at Amina, then at her torn dress, her swollen feet, and the deep sadness in her eyes. She softened. "You can stay in the old hut near the well," she said. "It's not much, but it's dry." Amina thanked her with a bow. The kindness felt strange, like a dream she didn't trust yet. Tunde spoke to the local healer and offered to help in his garden. Amina gathered water, swept the hut, and tried to make it feel like home. But even in a new place, the past followed her. Some villagers asked questions. Who is she? Why does she look so sad? Why doesn't she have a name? They didn't say the word curse, but she could hear it in their tone. At night, Amina sat alone, whispering to Mama Simi in her heart. I'm trying, but the world won't let me rest. Still she stayed. Still she smiled. Still, she gave because that was all she knew how to do. It started slowly. One child grew weak, then another, then a mother, then 3 more. Soon, the laughter in the village was gone. People lay on mats, eyes burning, skin hot, voices weak. The local healer shook his head. "I don't know this illness. It spreads fast." Fear returned, just like in her old village. Tunde looked at Amina. This is what happened before. But this time, she didn't run. She remembered everything she had learned. From Mama Simi, from Tunde, from her own pain. She asked for leaves, roots, water, and fire. She crushed herbs, boiled mixtures, and stayed up through the night. She went to each sick person, washed their faces, held their hands, whispered comfort. Some were afraid. "Don't touch her," they warned. "We don't know where she's from." But others watched and saw healing begin. The fever broke in 2 children. A mother opened her eyes. A boy sat up and drank water. Hope returned. And still, Amina did not rest. Even as her hands ached, even as she cried in secret, she kept going. Because for the first time, people were not just looking at her, they were seeing her. The sickness slowed. People who were near death began to walk again. Mothers hugged their children. Men sat outside and talked like before. And everywhere they turned, they spoke one name: Amina. She healed my son. She gave me hope. She is not just a girl, she's a blessing. The name Tunda, once whispered in private, became a name on every tongue. But Amina didn't feel proud, she just felt tired. Her hands were cracked. Her eyes were always red from smoke and lack of sleep. But still, she worked. The old woman who gave them the hut came with a bowl of rice. "Eat, child," she said. "You've done more than most." Amina sat outside the hut that night and looked at the stars again. She smiled. "That one is peace. That one is joy. That one," she whispered, "that one is me." Tunde joined her, holding 2 cups of warm water. "You've changed everything," he said. She looked at him quietly. "Do you think Mama Simi can see me now? I think she never took her eyes off you." The villagers gathered the next day and said a prayer not to the gods of fear, but in gratitude for the girl who came with nothing and gave them everything. For the first time, Amina felt like she belonged. But far away, in her old village, someone else was watching. The eyes from the past. News travels, even across rivers. A trader brought it first. "That girl you chased away, she's in the next village," he told the chief. "They say she healed their sick." The chief's face grew dark. "Impossible! That cursed girl?" "They call her Amina now," the trader said. "They say she saved lives." The chief burned with shame. If the other village was now well and his own still suffered, what would people say? "We must bring her back," he said. "She belongs to us." "But we cast her out," one elder reminded him. "We will not ask. We will take." And so they sent men, with ropes, with lies, with the same anger they used before. In the new village, Amina did not know what waited for her. She only knew that the stars felt closer, that people smiled at her, that maybe, for once in her life, she wasn't afraid to stay. But the shadows from her past were already walking, and this time they weren't just coming to hurt her heart, they were coming for her life. It was just before dawn. Amina was gathering herbs near the edge of the forest when she heard footsteps, many of them. She turned and saw men in dark wrappers. Her heart stopped. Before she could run, one grabbed her arm, another covered her mouth. "Don't scream," they warned. "The chief wants you." She struggled, kicked, tried to shout, but they were too many. Tunde was on his way to bring her breakfast when he saw it. "Amina!" he shouted, running toward them. One of the men turned and hit him with a stick. Tunde fell, bleeding. Amina cried out, "Please, leave him alone, I'll go." But the men didn't stop. They tied her hands, they dragged her across the ground, her feet scraped over sharp stones, her tears mixed with dust. Tunde reached out with weak hands. "Don't take her, please." But they were gone. They took her like she was nothing, like she had never mattered, like her name had no meaning, and the girl who had finally found a home was being stolen once more. They brought her back to the old village, the place where her name had always been silent. The people gathered to stare. Some gasped when they saw her. "She's alive. She looks different. She looks stronger." But others still held hate. "She is the reason we suffer," one woman hissed. "She cursed us with her birth." The chief stood tall in front of the crowd. "You left us to die, child." "I was thrown away," Amina said quietly. Her voice cracked but steady. "You could have returned." "To be killed?" she asked. "I gave you everything once. You gave me nothing." The chief raised his hand. "Enough. The gods are still angry, and we must make it right." Amina looked up, her hands still tied. "You want me to die for you?" A quiet fell across the crowd. Some looked away, others frowned. Tunde's father stepped forward, voice shaking. "She saved lives. She is not the curse." "She is the cure," someone whispered, but the chief's eyes were cold. "The sacrifice must happen at sunrise." They locked her in the same hut Mama Simi once called home, but it no longer felt like home. And as the stars blinked above, Amina whispered one last time, "Mama, if this is the end, let them at least remember my name." The sky turned grey before the sun came. The village was silent. No birds sang. Even the wind held its breath. Amina was led out of the hut with her hands tied. Her feet were bare. Her head was held high. People gathered at the village square. Some brought drums. Others brought fear. The chief stood beside the sacred tree. "Today, we give the gods what they ask. Let this girl's blood wash our sins." Tunde pushed through the crowd. His head was bandaged, but his voice was strong. "She's not the one to blame. She saved a village," someone else shouted. The old woman who gave Amina rice in the other village stepped forward too. "This child healed us. She gave more than any of us ever have." The people began to argue. "She is a curse." "No, she's a gift." Amina stepped forward. "Let me speak." Everyone quieted. She looked at the faces, the ones who mocked her, the ones who feared her, the ones who never saw her at all. "I was left in the rain. I grew up with whispers. You said I had no name, but I gave love when I had none left for myself." She paused, eyes full of tears. "I won't fight you. If my life brings peace, then take it. But remember this, my name is Amina, and I was never a curse." The sun rose then slow and golden. But before the chief could raise his hand, something happened. A young boy who had once been sick stepped out. He placed a flower at Amina's feet. Then another child, then a mother. One by one, they walked toward her, not with stones, but with tears. The chief dropped his arm, confused. "What are you doing?" The healer's son stepped forward. "We won't watch you kill the only soul who ever truly helped us." The crowd, once full of fear, now stood in front of Amina like a shield. The chief looked around his power, slipping like sand through fingers. "We made her suffer," someone said. "We turned away from the sun," said another. The elder who once blamed Amina dropped to his knees. "Forgive us," he said, voice cracking. And there, under the morning light, the crowd began to chant, "Amina! Amina! Amina!" The name they never gave her now echoed like a song. Amina's hands were untied. She sank to the ground, weeping not because she was afraid, but because she was finally seen. Tunde ran to her, holding her close. "You did it," he whispered. "You changed them." Amina looked up at the sky. "Mama see me," she whispered. "Do you hear them?" The wind blew gently, lifting the dry leaves. It felt like an answer. That night, the villagers gathered and built a small house for her near the river. Children brought her gifts. Mothers asked her to teach them healing. She didn't wear gold or sit on a throne, but she had something better. A name, a place, and finally, peace. Amina's new home was small, built with care and love. It stood by the quiet river where the water flowed like a gentle song. Every morning, people came to her, some for herbs, others for advice, and many just to sit near her peace. She taught the children how to boil roots, how to care for wounds, and how to listen to silence. And when someone was sick, she stayed by their side, holding their hand the same way Mama Simi once held hers. But even as her life grew fuller, her body grew weaker. The years of hunger, cold, and pain had taken a quiet toll. Tunde noticed first. She coughed longer, walked slower. "You need to rest," he said. She smiled. "There's still so much to give." But one night, as the stars blinked quietly, Amina looked at the sky and felt something she hadn't in years. Tired, but ready. She sat outside, holding the old wooden ring Tunde had once given her. The grass necklace from Mama Simi still lay around her wrist, faded, but whole. She looked at the stars. "That one is peace, that one is love, and that one is Mama." And then she closed her eyes and never opened them again. The next morning, the village woke to silence. Tunde found her sitting upright, face calm, hands folded over her chest. He didn't cry at first. He just sat beside her and whispered, "Thank you." The villagers came in quiet waves. Some carried flowers, some sang softly, many wept. They didn't bury her behind the village. They built a small garden by the river and laid her there with the necklace and the ring. And above the garden, they placed a stone. It didn't say the girl with no name. It said, "Here lies Amina." She had no name until she gave the world her heart. Every year, on the same day, children gather by the river and light little lanterns. They place them in the water, and as they float away, they whisper, "We remember you, Amina. You were never a curse. You were the light." And when the wind blows through the trees, it sometimes carries her name, Amina.